The year is 1725. Europe is ruled by kings, empires, and ambition. The battlefield is a stage of order and precision. Men dressed in bright coats, standing shoulder to shoulder, muskets at the ready. War is a spectacle of discipline. Every shot fired is followed by a cloud of white smoke. Soldiers reload in unison, their lives dictated by rhythm and command. Battles like these are fought in open fields, where courage and formation decide victory, not speed or stealth. Technology in this era is simple yet revolutionary. The flintlock musket dominates warfare, replacing the unreliable matchlock of centuries past. Cannons roar from behind the lines, their iron balls tearing through formations. Cavalry charges fill the gaps, sabers flashing under gray skies. But beneath the ceremony of war lies chaos. Communication is primitive, carried by horsemen or shouted through the noise of battle. Medicine barely exists. A wounded soldier's fate often ends not on the field, but in infection days later. Empires rise and fall through these wars. Britain, France, Spain, and the Ottoman Empire fight across continents. The world becomes a chessboard of colonial conquest, and technology, for the first time, begins to shape global power. The musket gives ordinary men the strength to stand against knights. Gunpowder equalizes the battlefield, ending the dominance of armor and sword. Warfare becomes industrial, predictable, but also more deadly. By the late 18th century, revolutions in America and France ignite a new kind of conflict. Wars not just for kings, but for ideas. The concept of the citizen soldier begins to rise. Strategy starts to evolve beyond formations and flags. Still, the battlefield remains recognizable: smoke, courage, and command. The world has yet to imagine what's coming. The machines, the engines, the destruction that will soon redefine war forever. The age of empires is ending. The world is turning to steel, and the battlefield will never look the same again. By the dawn of the 19th century, war is changing, not through strategy, but through industry. The world enters an age of invention, and the tools of peace and progress become the tools of destruction. The Industrial Revolution transforms the way armies fight. For the first time, nations can mass-produce weapons. Iron foundries and steam-powered factories replace blacksmiths. Muskets become rifles, stronger, faster, and more precise. Gun barrels are rifled to spin bullets through the air, doubling their range and accuracy. The power of a single soldier multiplies, but so does the scale of conflict. Railroads emerge, carrying troops and supplies hundreds of miles in days rather than weeks. The telegraph sends messages across continents in moments, a silent revolution in command and control. For generals, this changes everything. Battles are no longer isolated. Armies move faster, strike deeper, and stay supplied for longer. Logistics becomes as important as bravery. But with progress comes horror. The same factories that build locomotives now produce artillery shells and ironclad warships. The balance between offense and defense begins to tilt. Smoke once rose from chimneys of prosperity, now it darkens the skies of war. On the ground, soldiers face a new kind of terror. Rifles cut down men at distances once unthinkable. Cavalry, once the symbol of glory, begins to fade. Horses cannot outrun bullets. Bayonets clash less often. The killing is done from afar. Wars like the Crimean War and the American Civil War reveal the full cost of industrialized combat. Trenches, railroads, and mass graves mark the landscape. For the first time, war becomes mechanized, an endless line of men and machines feeding the front. The telegraph line hums with orders, steam engines scream across iron rails, Cannons thunder from hilltops, loading shells forged by men who will never see the front lines. Technology has taken command. The soldier is no longer just a fighter. He is part of a machine, a vast system driven by metal, smoke, and industry. The world has stepped into a new century, and war will never again be fought by muscle alone. The factory has replaced the forge, and the battlefield will soon turn to fire and steel. The late 19th century. The world stands on the edge of a technological awakening, and the rifle is its most precise creation. The smoothbore musket is gone. In its place, the bolt-action rifle emerges, a weapon that changes everything. It fires faster, farther, and with deadly accuracy. For the first time in history, a single soldier can hit a target hundreds of meters away. Nations take notice. Germany, Britain, and France compete to design the perfect rifle. The Mauser, the Lee Enfield, and the Lebel become legends, instruments of empire and conquest. War, once fought in tight formations, begins to scatter. Soldiers no longer stand in open fields. They dig in. They hide. The battlefield stretches wider, more chaotic, more lethal. At the same time, new inventions emerge: machine guns, barbed wire, and modern artillery, each a symbol of human ingenuity and human brutality. A single machine gun can stop an entire charge. The days of bravery in open combat are fading. Industrial power fuels the arms race. Nations compete not just in colonies, but in factories. Gunpowder is replaced with smokeless powder, allowing soldiers to fire unseen. Communication improves. Armies grow. The next war, everyone knows, will be different. In Africa and Asia, imperial armies test their weapons in colonial wars, against enemies often armed with little more than courage and outdated weapons. It is a preview of the devastation to come. The telegraph, railways, and logistics connect entire continents. For the first time, global conflict becomes possible. Politicians speak of national pride. Engineers design for destruction. Generals prepare for wars that technology will outgrow before they begin. This is the age when the rifle replaces the sword, when skill and precision matter more than sheer numbers. But beneath the surface, something darker stirs. The power of industry and science is outpacing the wisdom of those who wield it. Alliances form, tensions rise. The world is armed and waiting. The age of the rifle has set the stage for a new kind of war, one the world has never seen before and will never forget. August 1914. Europe is on fire. What begins as a political crisis becomes a catastrophe unlike anything the world has ever seen. The armies of the 19th century march into the 20th, but the weapons waiting for them belong to another age entirely. The bolt-action rifle, the machine gun, and the artillery cannon come together in a storm of steel. Soldiers march confidently into battle and vanish beneath the thunder of shells. In weeks, entire armies are shattered. The old ways of fighting die almost overnight. Trenches become the new world, deep scars carved into the earth, stretching for hundreds of miles from the North Sea to Switzerland. Soldiers live, fight, and die in mud, rats, and gas. Every advance costs thousands of lives. Every yard gained is bought with blood. Machine guns sweep the fields, tearing through waves of men. Artillery turns landscapes into wastelands. Poison gas drifts across no man's land, silent, invisible, merciless. The Industrial Revolution that once promised progress now delivers death on an unimaginable scale. Technology rules the battlefield. Communication is carried by telephone wire, often cut by shell fire. Aircraft scout the skies, marking the first steps of air warfare. Tanks roll onto the field, primitive, slow, but unstoppable symbols of what's to come. The generals of the old world struggle to adapt. Strategy becomes a numbers game, factories versus factories, bodies versus bullets. By 1918, entire nations are exhausted. Millions are dead, cities are ruined, and the world, once filled with optimism and invention, now sees technology as both savior and curse. World War I is not just a war between nations, it is a war between centuries. The old age of honor collapses beneath the weight of mechanization. The machine has replaced the man. When the guns finally fall silent in November 1918, the world stands in shock. The price of progress has been revealed, and it cannot be forgotten. The Great War was meant to end all wars. Instead, it taught humanity how to fight them better. The next one will come sooner than anyone dares to believe. 20 years after the war to end all wars, the world plunges back into darkness. In 1939, Germany invades Poland, and within months, the planet is at war once again. But this time, the tools of destruction are faster, stronger, and far more precise. This is not a war of trenches. It is a war of movement, a mechanized storm. Tanks thunder across Europe. Fighter planes slice through the sky. Radio communication coordinates armies that move faster than any in history. From the German Panzer divisions to the British Spitfires, from American Sherman tanks to Soviet T-34s, innovation drives survival. The battlefield is now a global machine, powered by science and steel. Technology advances at a terrifying pace. The skies fill with bombers. Radar gives nations early warning, an invisible edge that decides life or death. Submarines stalk the oceans, sinking convoys in silence. The world's oceans, cities, and skies become battlefields. War drives invention. Engineers work around the clock, designing new engines, aircraft, and weapons. In America, factories produce not hundreds, but thousands of tanks and planes each month. Women replace men in the workforce. Science becomes a weapon itself. And in the war's final chapter, science crosses a line. In August 1945, two flashes of light consume Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the atomic bomb, the ultimate product of human ingenuity and fear, ends the war and begins a new age of terror. The Second World War leaves the planet in ruins. Over 70 million people are dead. Cities lie in ashes. But in the wreckage, the future has already begun. The jet engine, the computer, the missile, all born from war. World War II was not just fought with soldiers and tanks, it was fought with ideas. Innovation itself became the weapon. Nations that adapted survived. Those that didn't disappeared. The world had mastered the art of war. But victory came at a cost, and in the ashes, a new conflict was waiting, one colder, quieter, and far more dangerous. The Second World War is over, but the world does not find peace. Instead, a new conflict emerges, one without open battlefields, but no less dangerous. This is the Cold War, a war of ideology, intelligence, and technology. The battlefield is now global. The two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, face each other across oceans and continents. Nuclear missiles stand ready, capable of ending life on Earth in minutes. This is the age of mutually assured destruction, a threat so immense that caution becomes the new strategy. Espionage thrives. The CIA and the KGB fight in shadows, infiltrating governments, sabotaging technology, and shaping global politics. Satellites circle the globe, giving nations eyes in the sky. Computers, once room-sized curiosities, now track armies, logistics, and intelligence with incredible speed. conventional warfare does not disappear. Korea, Vietnam, and Afghanistan become testing grounds for new strategies, weapons, and technologies. Helicopters swoop into jungles, jets dominate skies, and precision-guided munitions begin to replace massed artillery. Warfare becomes faster, more complex, and more lethal. Technology also reaches civilians. The space race pushes rocket science to new heights. Missiles capable of striking continents are no longer science fiction, they are reality. The Cold War is fought as much in labs and boardrooms as on battlefields. Yet, paradoxically, this war is defined by restraint. Both superpowers understand that direct confrontation could trigger apocalypse. Strategy shifts from annihilation to influence, from tanks and guns to propaganda, diplomacy, and innovation. The Cold War teaches the world that war is no longer just about physical battles. It is about control, information, and deterrence. Victory is measured not by territory gained, by influence maintained, secrets uncovered, and technologies mastered. For nearly half a century, the threat of nuclear fire and the rise of new military technologies shape global politics, transform armies, and define generations. Humanity teeters on the edge, caught between innovation and annihilation. When the Iron Curtain finally falls in 1991, the world breathes a cautious sigh of relief. But the battlefield has evolved forever. The next war will be faster, smarter, and fought in ways no one yet fully understands. The Cold War is over, but the world's battlefields have not disappeared. They have evolved. From the deserts of the Middle East to the mountains of the Balkans, modern warfare emerges as a combination of precision, technology, and speed. In 1991, the Gulf War reveals the power of information-driven combat. Coalition forces, armed with satellites, GPS, and smart bombs, overwhelm entrenched armies with lightning strikes. Tanks move with precision, aircraft strike from miles above, and soldiers communicate instantly across vast distances. The battlefield becomes a network, a living, shifting map of men, machines, and information. For the first time, technology gives commanders near-omniscient awareness. Real-time intelligence changes strategy from reactive to proactive. Precision-guided munitions reduce waste, hitting exact targets. The soldier on the ground, while still critical, is part of a larger, synchronized system where machines and data amplify human ability. Naval and air power dominate. Aircraft carriers project force across oceans. Stealth bombers strike unseen. Drones, though still rudimentary, provide reconnaissance that was impossible a decade earlier. Communication satellites connect troops across continents, making geography almost irrelevant. Yet technology is not infallible. Asymmetrical warfare emerges. Small, determined insurgent forces use knowledge, terrain, and unconventional tactics to challenge even the most sophisticated armies. The lessons of history, adaptation, cunning, and resilience remain as critical as ever. This era also highlights the human cost of high-tech warfare. Soldiers face psychological pressure from precision combat and long deployments. Urban environments turn into deadly mazes where technology cannot always protect against hidden threats. Even as weapons become smarter, war remains brutal, unpredictable, and personal. Modern warfare is no longer about massed troops or attrition alone. It is about networked operations, speed, and intelligence, a war where the battlefield exists in both the physical and digital realms. By the end of the 20th century, the rules have changed. Soldiers and machines fight side by side. Precision and strategy replace sheer numbers. And as the 21st century begins, the world braces for conflicts that are faster, more connected, and far more complex than anything before. The future of war has arrived, and humanity must adapt or risk being left behind. September 11, 2001, a day that reshapes the modern battlefield. The world enters a new era of conflict, the War on Terror. Unlike conventional wars of the past, this conflict is unpredictable, asymmetric, and global. The enemies are dispersed, invisible, and adaptive. Urban environments become the new front lines. Soldiers navigate crowded streets, decaying buildings, and improvised defenses. Tanks and planes, once decisive, are complemented by special forces trained for precision strikes, intelligence gathering, and rapid response. Technology becomes both shield and sword. Drones, once experimental, now dominate reconnaissance and combat. From remote control stations thousands of miles away, operators can observe, track, and strike with unprecedented accuracy. Satellites monitor movements, while cyber tools disrupt communications and networks. The battlefield stretches from the physical to the digital. The human element remains critical. Soldiers rely on intelligence analysts, linguists, and local guides to anticipate insurgent tactics. Coordination is complex. Air support, ground teams, and special operations units must operate in perfect synchrony. Failure can be immediate, catastrophic. This era also exposes the limits of technology. Improvised explosives, guerrilla tactics, and urban ambushes challenge even the most advanced armies. Adaptability, courage, and resilience return to the forefront. High-tech weapons are only as effective as the humans controlling them. Yet the evolution of warfare accelerates. Night vision, precision targeting, and real-time communication redefine what is possible on the battlefield. Soldiers become nodes in a network, constantly connected to intelligence, allies, and technology that extends their reach far beyond their physical presence. The war on terror teaches a hard truth. Technology can dominate, but it cannot replace judgment, adaptability, and human ingenuity. Victory is measured not only in territory taken, but in lives protected, networks disrupted, and threats neutralized. By 2020, combat has become a fusion of human skill and technological power. The battlefield is no longer just a place. It is a system. A global, digital, and kinetic network where decisions must be instantaneous and consequences irreversible. War has evolved again, faster, smarter, and more invisible, and the 21st century still holds lessons humanity has only begun to understand. The world enters the 2020s, war takes on a new dimension, digital, networked, and invisible. No longer confined to fields, cities, or deserts, the battlefield extends into cyberspace, satellite networks, and autonomous systems. Soldiers now operate alongside machines that can see, think, and act faster than humans. Drones swarm the skies, collecting intelligence or delivering precise strikes. Advanced sensors track enemy movements in real time. Armies deploy augmented reality visors and digital interfaces that turn complex operations into coordinated symphonies of action. Cyber warfare becomes a weapon of choice. Nations can disrupt infrastructure, communications, and logistics without firing a single bullet. Entire cities, power grids, and supply chains are vulnerable. The battlefield is no longer defined by geography. It exists wherever the network reaches. Yet, amid this technological dominance, human skill remains essential. Decisions, judgment, and strategy cannot be outsourced to machines. Commanders interpret data, assess risk, and decide when to act. One error in this digital realm can cascade into disaster. The scale and speed of warfare now surpasses historical imagination. Conflicts can escalate within hours, targets can be identified and engaged remotely, and precision is measured in meters rather than miles. Soldiers and operators work in tight coordination with artificial intelligence, creating a hybrid of human intuition and machine calculation. This is a battlefield where the eye cannot see, the ear cannot hear, yet every movement is tracked and every decision matters. Traditional combat exists alongside cyber operations, drone strikes, and real-time intelligence. Victory demands mastery over both worlds, physical and digital. Emerging technologies hint at what is coming: autonomous combat vehicles, AI decision-making systems, and even AI-driven strategy planning. War is evolving faster than strategy manuals, faster than human reaction. The next conflict may be decided in milliseconds. The digital battlefield is a reminder: the rules of war have changed forever. To survive, humanity must adapt not only to new weapons, but to a world where information itself becomes the most powerful armament. As we step into the mid-2020s, the battlefield is no longer just physical, digital, or cyber. It is a fusion of all three. Humanity stands at the threshold of a new era, where the next war may be decided by artificial intelligence, autonomous weapons, and machines capable of making decisions faster than the human mind. Autonomous drones patrol skies and seas. Robotic combat units move alongside soldiers, responding to threats instantaneously. Sensors monitor terrain, weather, and troop movements in real time, feeding AI algorithms that calculate risk, opportunity, and strategy in milliseconds. War is now a collaboration between humans and machines, each extending the other's capabilities. Yet this future is fraught with uncertainty. As machines take on more responsibility, ethical dilemmas emerge. Can a war be fought by an algorithm? Who bears the responsibility when a robot acts independently? Humanity must navigate not only technological advancement, but also moral boundaries. Cyber operations dominate silently alongside traditional forces. Attacks on infrastructure, information, and communication networks can cripple entire nations without a single bullet fired. The line between soldier and civilian blurs as technology becomes ubiquitous, and the battlefield expands into homes, cities, and even cyberspace itself. The lessons of 300 years are clear. Every era of warfare, from muskets to rifles, from tanks to drones, from trenches to digital networks, has been shaped by technology. Yet across centuries, one constant remains: human ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability define victory. The future of war is faster, smarter, and more interconnected than ever before. Autonomous systems, AI-driven decision-making, and advanced cyber capabilities will redefine strategy, tactics, and even the very concept of combat. Soldiers will operate as part of integrated networks, where machine and human actions are inseparable. From the age of empires to the digital frontier, war has always been a mirror of human innovation and its consequences. The battlefield of tomorrow is not only a test of technology, but a test of humanity itself. The story of warfare is a story of adaptation. The story of technology is the story of survival. And as the next century unfolds, humanity will once again face the ultimate question: are we ready for the wars yet to come?